like being on the bench for like Liverpool, City, and I was dreading coming on. I think I was on the bench for a game against Italy and Holland, and I was like, that's mad. Like, looking back now,
crazy,
absolute joke. He was just like 10 steps ahead, mate. The guy. For my first year I signed, I was on £55 a week. I was getting loads of expenses. So I remember me and Mum running round to Sports Direct the night before, and mate, they were like, honestly, they were about this big. 2 days before, I actually got an abscess. So I don't know if you've looked at any of the photos and that. You know when they get the camera and they go along both sides doing the national anthem. I remember thinking, if I sing it, I'm gonna look like that. I just remember me and Stu Lou just like running on cars in the middle.
I was gonna say Lynchy was like running up and over, like.
So the pain you're getting, you've got something called a grade 4 conjugal defect. We got 2 of them. It's not what I think you should do. You have to. I feel like you definitely have to. You owe it to your body to retire.
Hello guys, and welcome back to the Max Talks Football Podcast. Today I'm joined by my first guest on the channel, and it's my ex-teammate at Wycombe Wanderers, Alfie Mawson. Alfie played for teams like Swansea, Fulham, and even made an England squad under Gareth Southgate. An amazing career which was cut short by an injury and had to retire at the age of 29. So lots of highs, lots of lows, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation we had. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy. Brilliant, Alf. I've got Alfie Mawson on the podcast today. Alf, how are you? It's great to have you on today.
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. Just chilling.
How's life treating you? How's life treating you? You said you're doing up your house at the minute, but obviously retirement, how is it treating you?
Retirement in general is good because I ain't got the stress of worrying about a game or anything. I still watch a little bit of football. I haven't been to a game. I went to JJ's testimonial not too long ago.
Yeah,
which was class because obviously like great servant to Wycombe. Other than that, I haven't actually like been to any games this season. I want to go and see a few, but other than that, mate, just been trying to sort out this house and welcome distraction, but it's a lot more work than thought it was going to be, but. We're all right, mate.
That's top stuff. So going back into your early life, obviously you born in Hillingdon. I play for Wealdstone at the minute, and it's kind of around the same area, like Ealing, West London, Uxbridge way. And you started at Reading when you were 9. How did that come about? What Sunday League team were you playing for? Because Reading, is that close?
No. I was actually at. So I'm from Norfolk. I was born in Hillingdon, and there was. I played for a side called Hayes. So you know Hayes and Yeddon?
Yeah.
Well, years ago it was it used to be Hayes and Wanderers, and there was Hayes Youth as well, and a few others dotted around. They all ended up like merging, and I started at Hayes and Wanderers. Had a great time there. I loved it, man. And then we just went to a tournament one day. We Sunday League tournaments you go to, like six-a-side. Went to one of them at the Medeski, and the pitch was like cut into 4. And it's class.
Nice, yeah.
And,
feels like Wembley, doesn't it, when you're that young?
Yeah, mate, it was unreal, man. And yeah, me and our keeper got picked up to go on trial at Reading, and then I ended up signing only just. To be fair, they were like, they would touch and go to signing him, but I got signed. My mate ended up at QPR, and then funnily enough, we ended up at Brentford as youth team players together, which is just shows you how mad football is. But from 9 to what was it, 15? Just before they made just as they were making the scholarship shout. So like just before I was 16, I think, and then got the boot.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say when I was at Southampton, I think we're the same age group. So whenever we played Reading, it was like proper physical. I used to like kind of. Hate playing you lot. Not that you were like unbelievable, but like I remember the centre halves being really physical, like but also like nasty and that. And I was like, oh fucking hell, it's going to be a long day. But so obviously it's, again, similar to me. I was at Southampton from 5 to 15, had good reports. I felt like I was doing all right, and then all of a sudden, like overnight, you're told you're not going to be you're going to get released. Well, Reading might have been in the Prem or the Champ at that time. How did you deal with that? And like, kind of, what was your stepping stones to, ending up at Brentford or going at trial at other clubs?
Obviously, first of all, I was gutted, man. I remember just I remember the guy who told me I was Jeff Warner, lovely guy, man. He was there for years, so he was there the whole time I was there, which was it was a long time. And then he was the one who broke it to me, and I was just like, oh god. But like I felt like I knew it was coming, sort of thing. I'd become a piece of the furniture, sort of thing. I was so far behind the other boys. I was so like being centre half, like you say, like when you thought of Reading, they were physical. I wasn't. I was. I hadn't had my growth spurt. Everyone was getting quicker, stronger, just better than me, and I was like, I knew I could see myself falling far behind, but that was how it was. But so ultimately, I didn't really know what to do. And then Reading had said to me, we've got like a few clubs that we can speak to for you to go on trial, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I went to Milwall, played a game for Milwall against Barnet, I think it was, and we won like 6-1. And I was like, all right, like played really well, and I was like, oh, this is like class. And they were like, oh, we want you to come down, we'll sort out digs, come train with the youth team. And I was like, okay, cool. Bear in mind, so I was just before youth team age. And then I was on to the fella for like a week. I think it was Scott Fitzgerald. Can I come? And he was like, oh, we can't sort digs out. And I was like, okay. So I was thinking, I'm just going to wait until they sort digs for me to go. And he was like, have you thought about going to like another club like close to you, this, that, and the other, like Aldershot, etc. And I was like, oh, maybe that's a way of him saying like he won't be able to sort me out. And then an old friend of my dad's, called Terry, was a scout at Brentford, and he was like, get him to come down. I went down to Brentford and done a week there, had a good time, and then played a resi game, I remember. And I didn't think I was going to play, I thought I was just involved. And I turned up and like, I remember just like William Gallas, I was starstruck when like William Gallas rolled out to
well, you're 15 playing in resi football.
Yeah. I was in the squad, and then I didn't think I'd come on. I thought I was just going to warm up the whole game. Yeah. And then he said, get ready, you're coming on. I came on 15, done well, and then got offered my scholar straight after that. But I remember like looking back, it was funny, man, because there were some proper players in that side that had gone on to like. Harry Kane was in it, and I had no idea. Wow. Like at the time, he was just like a bagsman for the youth.
Sometimes when you check like team sheets from years gone by, you're like, oh fucking hell, like
I have no idea. Yeah, and then the ones that you think God, he was some player, like end up filtering out the game. It's weird, but
so reserve team football for those, like, we're like 29, 30 now, Alf. But it was proper. It was like whoever's not playing on a Saturday for the first team would play on a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Completely different.
And like I remember, like I was older than 15. I was like 17. I remember scoring away at Gillingham with a header and like ringing my dad on the way back, like that's the best thing I've ever done, kind of thing. And it was at their stadium. Obviously, no fans in that, but like if you're giving the ball away in there, like you're getting older pros like digging you out and that. And it was like
battered,
it was a proper. So like 23's football now, you look at it and you're just like, it's just not the same. But like, and then you see those 23's players maybe come down into like my league or League Two, and it's kind of a sink or swim moment. But so. From where you're from, like QPR and Brentford are probably your local team, so you kind of ended up at Brentford. So did you have one season and then sign your scholar, and did you live at home or did you get digs?
No, I was at home the whole time, mate. So
I thought you would be.
It was brutal, mate. It was brutal. Looking back now, like do you know like how we survived on our wage? Like, so I was at home. I
can tell you what I was on. Will you tell me?
I'll tell you now. It's my first year I signed. I was on £55 a week.
Oh, you were struggling. I was on 60. I was getting 330 a month.
Yeah, 55 a week.
40 quid expenses as well, though. So I was happy with that.
I was getting loads of expenses because I had to get a train from Winnersh all the way through Staines all the way to Scion Park. Then I'd get on a bus. So it was long. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day travelling.
Bloody hell.
And it was like £600 a month, like for like a train traveller and for my bus, and it was mad. But I was on that, and then the second year I was on we got a big increase because there was the club got not taken over, but like there was like an influx of sort of like welfare or whatever, and I went up to £80 a week, and I was like, woo,
Buy the Air Force Ones on payday and that, everyone buzzing.
I remember there was one lad called Jack Middleton, like he was my best mate growing up, like we used to play, and then he ended up at QPR. So like when I say growing up, like from like kid to like 5 to like 8 or 9, we played football all the time, and I remember the first paycheck we got. So bearing in mind, 55 quid, it's like £230, whatever it was, a month. He went and bought a Louis Vuitton belt straight away, and that was it gone. I remember the cream nose.
How do you know you're in the football environment when you're in the football environment? There you go. There's one to give away.
I was like, God. That is mad. But like, I used to save like mad, and like everyone would go and buy like they go to Lakeside, all the Essex boys. And go to the buy gear and that, and nice clothes, trainers and that, and I'd be like, I wouldn't spend a thing, but I'd save as much as I could, and then like
I remember on a Wednesday day off, we had a big old train trip to Bicester Village, and I bought this Ralph Lauren hoodie for like 80 quid, and it was like the best thing I've ever bought in my life. Like, oh god,
Bicester,
that was a joke.
Bicester's meant to be well last night. Been there for a while.
So I look back on my scholar years as like some of the best of my life. Obviously, you weren't in digs. I was living with eight other boys above a pub, which was just carnage. But obviously, living home is a bit different. But obviously, you had to. I'm assuming you had to clean boots, do jobs. How was like the off the field stuff as well as the on field stuff in youth team?
I actually, as brutal as it was at the time, and like as scared as I was, like that I hadn't done my jobs right, this, that, and the other, I actually buzzed off it, mate. Because I look at like scholars now, like some life, man. Like, but I'm glad that we had it harder.
I'm glad as well. Yeah.
It's just part and parcel of it. Like, you know what I mean? You get your jobs, and then every like 6 weeks they'd rotate. So like you'd be first team dressing room. I remember my first one was first team like equipment. So like balls had to be pumped to the correct PSI every day.
11 PSI.
It wrecked my bones, mate. And I remember one day.
And then if one's too hard, the gaffer's moaning or the players are moaning.
One day they were too hard and that, and then I went out and took them all back in and re-pumped them, and it was all fine. And then I remember getting outside and the youth team manager was like, I was meant to do the youth team bibs as well because the boy was ill. So like he took other jobs on when someone was ill, whatever. And the bibs went out, and I was like, for fuck's sake. And he was like, right, go get them quickly. And I sprinted in and got the bibs, come back out. I was like, oh, sorry. He was like, that's fine, don't worry. Everyone dropped down into the press-up position. And I was like, for fuck's sake. So I was like, all right, sweet. So I've dropped down. He's like, no, not you. I was like, oh, God.
You watch them do it.
Why not me? He's like, yeah, you watch. And I was like, no, I've got to do it. He's like, no, get up. They ain't stopping until you get up.
So who was this? What manager?
Dan Sar. Tough guy.
Sarli.
Tough guy.
Sarli.
Yeah, tough guy, man. Nah, tough guy. But and I was just like, oh, bollocks. I was like, oh, I've really let that. And I was thinking, all the older lot here, they're going to batter me, man. They're going to batter me. And to be fair, they were like, oh, we've seen this before. Like, we've been in this situation. And luckily, it wasn't my actual job at the time. So they were lenient with me, man. But yeah, it was... If you messed up your job, mate, it was carnage. I remember one other day, it was a day before a youth team FA Cup game, so you know how big they were.
Yeah. I got a story about mine. Massive. I bottled it. I made it into something much bigger than it was, but go on.
Yeah. Oh, well, mate, this was literally about like not doing a job. So we had Southend away the day after, and it was my birthday this day. So the day of the training session, before we travelled to Southend, one of the... Sarli was in a meeting. He come in, and the guys who was on the youth team changing room hadn't finished their job. And bearing in mind, he was in this meeting for like an hour. Jobs had to be done by a certain amount of time. Yeah. I don't remember what it was. And he come back and he was like, right, again, clean the whole gaff. And I remember us leaving at like 6 or 7. And Mum and Dad had booked us to go for like Chinese or something. And I was like, Mum, like, I'm just leaving the training ground now. She was like, it's like 6:30 out. And I was like, yeah, like someone didn't do their job. So I got back, Mum picked me up from the station, and it was like 8 o'clock, and then we went straight for this Chinese, and I was just like, one guy didn't do his job. It was like it was just how it was. Like
Yeah.
it was tough, but yeah,
I had 6 pairs of boots to do. If I left them too wet, I'd get bollocked. If I had to clean and sweep the minibus on a Friday before we packed it for the game Saturday. But yeah, at Brentford, it was a bit weird when I was younger. They had like third-year scholars, which was a bit of a made-up position. I don't know if that happened to you. How did your second year kind
yeah.
of go? Because your first year is kind of, you want to play. You do play, but it's kind of just getting used to playing full-time football and being like doing the job. But in your second, third year, like, were you expecting to get a pro, or how did that kind of pan out for you?
Well, we had a new manager come in the second year because Andy Scott had left in my first year, and I've got on really well with him. And then I remember Darren Saul making a decision on, as well as with the high ups, on who was getting a pro out of the first year scholars, and only one of them got one, and it was Jake Rees, who's just gone back to AFC.
I know. Good midfielder.
Epitome, top pro, epitome of working hard, never took no shit, always like really helped me a lot, took me in the gym and that. And I remember going home that night and I was literally like gutted because I was like, Mum, I remember saying to Mum and Dad, I was like, he's the only one that got a pro. I was like, I don't know how good all the other lot were. I was like, I've got no chance next year. I was like, I've got absolutely no chance, so I might as well finish now. And then a new manager came in, and it was like everyone had a new lease of life, and it was like, I sort of took on the role of like, well, I've just got to just give everything I've got, and if it's not good enough, it's not good enough, but I can't give much more. And then just ended up being another youth team game, FA Youth Cup game that year. Played really well for a few games. And then we had one, I think it's like Southend again, because we played them the year before and got beat by them. We played them this year, beat them, and then I got pulled in the office the day after, and they just offered me a 2-year deal, and I was made up. And then,
how good's that conversation, or where you bring your mum or dad after?
Yeah, called Dad. Yeah, I remember him going mad, screaming to all his mates. Class, man.
I remember my mum crying and that because I broke my ankle in my second year scholar, and around like October time, I was out until February. And I remember thinking, like, that's the worst. Well, we'll get onto injuries later, but like just thinking like the uncertainty, and at that stage, not even about money or anything like that. It's just literally like what you want to do. And I remember ringing her after I come back, and it was bizarre. I know we were told that, say you've got a squad of first year or second years, we were told like 10% get pros. So then if you had the first years on, you're only looking at like you said, 2-3 max per year. You had one before you. But in my age group, we just had, I think, because obviously Wycombe were in a bad situation financially, so they needed players. But also we had like 3 in my age group, all got pros. So Matty Ingram, obviously, went on to have a great career, myself and another lad. And then in the year above, so many players like Charles Dunn, Anthony Stewart, Josh Scowen, like we had a serious team. So that's obviously, like I said, that's the best phone call you could possibly make back to your parents. And I remember my mum crying.
Was Matt McClure a year older than us, or 2 years?
2 years.
2 years, bags, man, wasn't he?
1 year older than Josh and those boys, Jesse. But he was kind of like the standard. He was like the gold standard we were aiming for, because Dobbo would go on about how he does extra shooting, works hard. So and we could see that path to Gary Waddock and Dobbo, because Dobbo obviously went from assistant manager to youth developer to assistant manager. So he was bringing everyone through. So you got a pro. I've got here, you made your debut. Well, we can get to debut in a 5-0 defeat to Derby. Cheers, Gaffer. I've got written down, I have no idea about this, but I've written down pre-season tour of Germany under Uwe Roster, and all I see you is running in the mountains. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, that was my first like pre-season trip away with the first team. But I didn't realise how hard it was. Like, I was like, wow, these are fit, man. This is minging. I remember like the day before, for God knows why, it was the night before I'd left. They just called me and said, have you got your passport? And I was like, oh, brilliant, I'm going. I was buzzing. And then I was like, I swear. And we taken our boots back to obviously like the first team was different because they used to take your boots back to, as you can imagine, like a boot skip. But when you're a youth team player, playing with the first, you get to take your own boots.
Yeah, of course.
So I put mine in. I took mine back, and I took them back to the training ground and went home because it's like a pre-season friendly. And then we went on tour, and I'd left my boots at the training ground. So I was like, I've got no boots. I was like, oh god. So I remember me and Mum running round to Sports Direct the night before, and I went in. I got these, mate. They were like, honestly, they were about this big.
Absolute speedboats.
These Umbro things, mate. But like, obviously, I was like under the impression that still I have to be wearing black boots, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not that I really cared as much, but it was youth team. I was like, I don't want to be going in with like loud boots, so let me try and get the blackest boots I can find. I got these Umbro with like. Yeah, they were horrific, mate. They were like 40 quid. And even like worse, like the worst of the worst. And I remember turning up to pre-season, putting them on, and the assistant manager was like, he was like, "Are you sponsored by Umbro? Please tell me you are, because there's no way you bought them." And I was like, I started on the back foot here.
So even when you try to do something good and try and not draw attention to yourself, you've ended up doing the opposite.
Ended up getting absolutely battered.
That sums up a football change room, like just a sniff of blood, and like you're gonna get done, you're gonna get attacked. But
leeches.
So was that trip hard, or was it just kind of a standard pre-season?
It was tough. I actually ended up getting. I think it was like I think I pulled my groin or whatever towards the end. So like I was like, oh, okay, got to get on with it. Like I can't really do much. And then got back and got my groin sorted, and then I just slowly fell away from the first team.
Yeah.
Until like, so that was just after my Scholar, and then like 2 years later, I got my debut. It was like a Carabao Cup game.
Yeah.
We all got put into the squad, but none of us knew that we were going to be playing or anything. And then one lad started, Josh Clark, ended up doing really well. 4-0 down. I remember him saying to me, "Come," and I was like, "Oh god." So I we went to a back three, and I was like, "Right, have a free." And I was like, "Okay, what have I got to lose?" I was like, "We're 4-0 down." And then the skipper, Kev O'Connor, was like, "Alf, no more goals." And I was like, "It's easy saying that now. Like we're 4-0 down, mate." You're saying it to me like I had anything to do with the other ones. I wasn't even on the pitch. And then I remember the ball come to me, and Connor Salmon charged me down, and I was like, "Oh god, I just like touched it through his legs," and I was like, "Oh god, I was like, I can't be doing that centre half." And then I just hit a diagonal, and I was like, "Oh, that was nice." I was like, "Okay, cool, played like 15 minutes, done all right." I ended up losing 5-0. They scored like outside the box. I had nothing to do with it, and I just looked around and I was like, "We are absolutely having one here." Did
that little diag and that little move give you a bit of confidence like that? Do you know what?
Yeah, I felt great. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, okay, they're not as quick and as strong as you get to that thing where like they're 13 players. Obviously, Derby were in the champ at the time and flying.
Yeah,
and it was like, and I remember like Will Hughes, who I ended up playing with in 21s, and I still get on with now. He's a good guy, man. But like he was in that squad and he was a joke, man. None of the Brentford boys could get anywhere near him. But it was a fun debut, as fun as they can be. 5-0 loss at Derby. It was good.
And then for the next couple of years, I've got kind of like Conference South loans, conference loans, annoying knee injuries, just niggles. Like, do you want to talk us through that period, and then the next period I just love the most? But what would you advise people to go on loan, like young players straight away, play men's football?
Yeah, I always do, man. I always say to go on loan. It's the best thing you can do. I think because unless you've been involved around the first team, I don't really feel as though you're ever seen as a senior in football until you've gone out and played with senior football, and you can't really classify yourself as that because you don't know what it feels like. You don't know what it's like going for 3 points on a Saturday.
Yeah,
like you say, like development games and you can go and win them games, but you're not really playing for anything. You're just playing like that you're not gonna get in trouble. No one's really gonna go mad. It's gonna get brushed under the carpet.
No crowds.
If you're going, it doesn't mean anything to. It only means what you want it to mean to you. So I feel like going on loan was the best thing I ever done. I loved it, and I always push it on to young players who I speak to. Like whenever you get an opportunity, don't worry if it's like 2 or 3 leagues below. It's men's football. It's better than chilling and looking as as pretty as you can on Instagram. Oh yeah, I played against Man United's 23s today, as opposed to playing, like I did when I went to the Conference South and that. And
I don't have any regrets in my career, really. Like I wouldn't say I've I just don't have many regrets because I worked hard, trained hard. But I played my first 50-game season when I was 24 in the Conference South, and I was like, when in the season where we played together, I could have gone on loan to Woking and Welling, and didn't. I just didn't want to go down to that level. And looking back on it, like you say, I should have done it much sooner. Even though it was my first year pro, I never made a single appearance. I was on the bench twice, never made a single appearance, and I think I should have maybe just tested myself a bit earlier. But my favourite story about you is what comes next, because if I tell you it from my point of view and then you talk through it. So we used to play against each other in youth team. I'm not going to say I could remember you standing out or going, not that centre-half stood out at that level, but you'd sometimes play against players like Manny, you were talking about earlier, Manny Oleleki, who's at Woking now. Yeah. He was outstanding. I kind of used to focus on people in midfield, but fast forward, I'm playing at Wycombe. The first week of the season, Josh Scowen's not playing, so I'm playing centre mid, and we're running up into the training Monday to Friday. Monday, Tuesday, you work hard. Wednesday off, Thursday, shape and things like that. Thursday, I think Gary Doherty goes down injured in training. Yeah. And we've got, I think, Anthony Stewart's gone somewhere the season before.
He went to
Crew.
He went to
correct.
Crew. Yeah.
And we're struggling.
And we're injured.
Yeah, and we're struggling. We've got our first game, Newport away, and normally it's just like direct, tough place to go, and we don't have a centre-half. Yeah. So I can't remember you training. I could be wrong. I can't remember you training Thursday or Friday.
I did. I came on Friday.
You came on Friday. It's crazy. And looking back on it, you came in on a youth loan, which is basically for people out there.
28-day,
A 28-day loan. I would say the percentage I've seen people come on those loans, like 80% go back within a month, and then you kind of never see them at that club again. So, okay, you say you trained Friday. I don't remember you training, but I've got on the boat coach on Saturday and seen you. I've gone, hello, my name's Max, whatever, And I can't vaguely remember him from youth team and that. And then we walk out, Newport away, and the crowd's going mad and that. And we do our little huddle and then we break up. And then we're playing 4-4-2. I'm playing centre mid. And I go to you. I remember this
playing with
Peter Murphy in centre mid.
Who are you playing with? Murphy. Yeah.
And just before kickoff, I'm like doing my sprints and that. And I go walk over to you because I don't really know how you play. I've gone, like, if the ball's dropping in midfield, do I lay it to your right foot or left foot? I used to think about details like that when playing to, like, centre-half or whatever. And you went to me deadpan, you're like, don't matter, really. And I was like, fucking hell, all right. I was like, all right, cool. We won 2-0. We had a great away day. And, mate, what followed that season was just incredible. And it's a good lesson for people, like, obviously, I read articles about you. Obviously, you at one stage you didn't know whether, like, you were looking at job agencies and things like that. And then just talk us through that opportunity Dobbo and Ainsworth gave you. Like I said, last minute loan, and how you kind of transformed that into like the building block for the career you had after.
Oh mate, it came about so weird. So now I know like I said to you earlier, like I used to think it was. Dobbo went to see another centre half. He was injured at Brentford, so he was like, I'll take a punt on him. But it wasn't. It was because when I was a youth team player against you lot, you were battering us. I got dragged at like 25, 30 minutes, and Dobbo and my old manager, Sali, ran me around the training ground. Little did I know this would end up being great for me, because Dobbo then saw me a few years later in this pre-season friendly for Brentford. I'd just come back off my first torn meniscus, so that was my first game back in. I played 45 minutes, I scored, done all right, and then Dobbo took me, and he was like, he called Ozzy Abanji, who was the head of like academy / development players, and was like, I want to take him. We've got no money at all. Can you do us a favour and let us have him for 28 days? And they said, yeah. And then I got a call later on in the afternoon on the Thursday. So we played that game on the Wednesday. And I remember Pierre was there, big Aaron Pierre. Came
I mean, still to this day, that's one of the best League Two centre-half partnerships like there's ever been.
That Yeah, that was good times, man. He came and watched. He was like, "Oh, I might see you this weekend," and I was like, "Oh, that'd be amazing, man." And I was like, "Yeah, like I doubt it." And then I got a call later on that evening from my youth team manager, who was a new youth team manager called John D'Souza, and he called me. And I remember, I think a few days before, we had a bit of a disagreement on something, and I used to just say it how it was. I used to just sometimes I just say stuff like when I know that you should bite your tongue, I'd say it. And John put up with a lot of shite from me. Not from being a prick, just from sorry about the language, by the way.
It's all right.
But it was just I don't know. I used to just like say things that people were thinking, as opposed to just like letting it slide and then get worse, sort of thing. And he called me and he said to me, "I don't think you deserve this, but I've just had a call from the Wycombe manager. They want to take you on loan for a month." I was like, "All right." I was like, "That's a weird way to say it," but I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever."
Yeah.
He said he's going to give you a call in a little while. So I was waiting around, as you can imagine, like anxious, waiting for this phone call. And Gaz called me, and he was like, "Hello, mate. How are you?" And I was like, "I'm very well, thank you. How are you?" And he said, "Do you want to come on loan?" And I was like, "I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to." He was like, "Oh, where do you live?" And I was like, Wokingham. He's like, "Oh, brilliant. I live in Finchampstead, just up the road." So it's not far then, mate. Get yourself in, and you never know, you might get your debut on Saturday. I was like, "All right, sweet." So came in on the Friday, and we just did like a little shake, whatever.
Yeah.
And this, that, and the other. And then he was like, "Right, this is starting 11." And I was like, "Oh, I'm in then." And then turned up the next day, and Newport away. I remember walking in and I saw my shirt, Mawson 26.
That's so good, isn't it?
God. That's my number, man.
That's the best feeling ever. Oh, yeah.
I was like, JT's my hero as well. So I was like 20. I was like, something's just meant to happen. And then,
wicked.
Yeah, went out there and that was it, man. Loans got extended a few times and
unreal.
Chairboy.
It got extended like twice. Like one, it went to January and then it went to the end of the season plus playoffs. But to put into perspective, the season before, I think the fans kind of owned the club, and we stayed up on the last day of the season. Fast forward next season, I reckon 9 or 10 people released. It was a complete turnover of players. I remember Hazy, the captain, he done our like bonuses, and we won't get paying a lot for bonuses, but it was like you get X amount for being in the top. You get X amount if you win.
Yeah, it was top 3.
Yeah, 3 points. Yeah. You get like if you get 3 points, you get X amount for per point. Yeah. Or you could bump up that money if you
£83 a point if you was in the top 3.
83 point if you're in the top 7 or top 3 or something like that. Yeah. And so you could get £50 a point for anywhere, or £83 a point. And the boys were like, "We got to take the 50 point because we stayed up on the last day last season, should have got relegated." And Hazy was like, "Nah, we're going for the big." And that kind of change in mentality from the whole squad was kind of like, it was a breath of fresh air. You got 7 goals. I mean, you were attacking the ball ridiculously from corners, but that partnership, Aaron Pierre, obviously Aaron physically was just a monster, a bit of a stopper, not as good as you on the ball, but head it and like blocking and a real leader back there. Yeah, rapid. You won all the awards at Wycombe, Player of the Season, Fans Player, whatever. Nominated for League 2 Player of the Year. And we got to the playoff final and lost. Now, one of my biggest regrets is that I never got on. Sammy Saunders got injured from kickoff. And I was like, "Go warm up." And I was like, I've just gone like that. Absolutely gone. Didn't come on. And then obviously we lost on penalties and I was kind of a penalty taker. What was it like playing at Wembley? And obviously you took a penalty as well.
It was class. I didn't really have that much of a good game against that. I remember we played Barry Core, and I always knew he was a bit of a nightmare to defend against because he was so big. There was a few times I just had to like play him at his own game, a bit of cat and mouse and that. But, it was mad and fantastic, like to play there. I ended up playing there quite a few times through.
Yes, I saw. Yeah.
When Tottenham were had it as at home, so it was a bit weird. But,
EFL trophy as well, and
yeah, you'll never forget your first time. It was amazing.
Nah,
but the thing is, 2 days before I actually got an abscess. So I don't know if you've looked at any of the photos and that.
A what?
Yeah, an abscess. Have you
ever heard of
an abscess?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I remember this.
So if you So I got that literally on the Thursday night. So on the Friday, Friday morning, I couldn't sleep. Like Thursday night, Friday morning. Bear in mind, we were travelling Friday to play it Saturday, or whatever day it was.
Yeah.
I had this. I had to go. Thank the Lord. My mum worked at a dentist at the time, and I went into his dentist so I didn't have no sleep. He went in there and he literally took the cap. So my front tooth was fake, so I was getting it sorted because I was going away with Beth that summer. I wanted my tooth sorted. He took off the back and he just drained it. He just let the it was just an infection.
Whatever's in there. I remember you telling me about it.
It was like a lump, yeah. I sat there for an hour and I fell asleep like that. And he just drained it for an hour. And then I didn't train that day, which was the day before the playoffs.
That's mad.
The playoff final. I was gone. And I remember we did the stadium tour and I remember looking at all the photos and I'm just there like mullered.
Zonked
and then
out.
we did the... I was gone, mate. And then they did the video. You know when they get the camera and they go along both sides doing the national anthem. And like I love the national anthem. I wanted to sing it, but I remember thinking if I sing it, I'm gonna be like that. So I was like, I was literally like this. If you see me, I'm writing down because I'm trying to hold this in.
Yeah.
This lump was just there.
That's funny.
I remember, but I buzzed off. Obviously, it was great scoring. It was highs and lows because on the personal one, I scored my penalty and I was buzzing, but it meant absolutely nothing to me in the long run because I just remember standing after the game with my hands behind my back, looking round. I can't believe I just lost, man.
I was devastated.
Seconds away.
This is an awful story, but obviously we conceded in the 121st minute of extra time. So JJ scored an unreal free kick, went top corner, in off the bar or whatever, off keeper. And then in the 120 minutes, I'm thinking I started to take my bib off and I started to put my shirt on because obviously I'm thinking we're going to run around celebrating. I'm a League One player.
Yeah.
I'm a League One player.
Yeah.
And obviously they score in the 121st minute. And I reckon I've got the shirt halfway on my arms and then I've thrown it on the floor. And then we lost on penalties. It was unbelievable. But an unbelievable season for you. And you ended up going back to Wycombe. But talk about Dobbo, talk about Gareth Ainsworth, they've probably had it.
Yeah, I think
what were your memories from that season and kind of what they did for your career?
But they know. I said it just before they left to go to QPR last season. I pulled them in the office and just said, "Listen, I need to whatever." I said, "Obviously, you haven't gone to QPR yet. There's a lot of speculation, as there always is." I said, "But I just needed to sit you both down and just say again, thank you." I just made a decision that I was retiring at this time. I said, "Listen, this is all down to you." I was like, whatever I've done in the game, I've done that myself on the pitch, but I would never have had the opportunity if it wasn't for you two. Absolute godsends, great people, and I love them to bits. And I remember just sitting there. It wasn't that long ago, literally 6-7 months ago. But they're just like, "This is what you've done," and I'm just like, just stop, just take it, take my compliments, please, because I'm like, just take in what people say about you all the time. They're like, "No, this is what you've done. You got yourself," and I'm just like, "No," I was like, "It doesn't work like that. You can work as hard as you can. Sometimes it's what you're dealt."
Yeah,
I was like, "You
right
guys,
place, right time." Yeah.
I was like, "You guys have done everything." And they're just fantastic, mate. I love them to bits. I think they're both brilliant. I think they're such a good dynamic. I think Gaz is obviously so emotional and so involved, and then Dobbo sometimes, comes in when he has to, and is an arm for Gaz to vent to. He's someone to lean on.
Yeah.
They balance each other out so well. It was so easy for me to go back and be like, "Wow, I just want to finish my time here," and I did. And
I think
they changed. That was all that mattered. They hadn't changed.
Dobbo was doing stuff before, he was practicing psychological stuff for footballers before before clubs started employing psychologists. He was setting up things. The gaffer was doing these little away days or these little team bonding exercises before teams were doing it. So obviously Andrew Howard took over the club with his consortium or whatever, and it was a bit mad. I remember one time we had to, I don't know if you remember, they got us all out of the gym outside and they were like, "We want to turn a match day into like it is in America, it's a proper big thing and that. So he played this song, I think, what song was it? It was Shooting Stars or something like that. I can't remember.
One
And he was like,
Republic, Counting Stars.
Counting Stars, and he was like, I want you all to run into the gym, yeah, like your NFL players going mad, getting the crowd up for it. So we've all gone in there, like, giving it like a, yeah. He's like, no, go do it again. So the next time we done it, we were going mad and that, just making fun out of it. But it kind of brought us out of our shell. We went to France to do the Battle of the Somme stuff, which was really sobering in one way. I will say, pardon the pun, it was sobering in one way, but it wasn't another. Like, again, they'd organised like a World War tour. I think it was, is his name Phil Stamp or Stampy? He was an ex-player who was doing tours out there, very knowledgeable guy. So we went and done that, visited like some of the graveyards and things like that, and it was unreal on the first day, and then it took a turn. Like Stampy was like, right lads, we've done the tour today, right? Go and have a good night tonight, but whatever you do, don't fucking touch the French beer. So we've all looked at each other like, what's he on about? Like, come on, man, I can't be that bad. Anyway, we've gone into, I remember the town as well. I remember Arras. We've gone into Arras. Beautiful.
Arras, mate.
Beautiful town, little town, sleepy town, lovely cathedral. And there wasn't a divide, but there was like, when we got into this pub, there was like a young group, me, you, Rowie, Holloway, and then you've got like the older group.
Max,
Stu Lou, and like Peter Murphy, Hazy and all that. And we got this huge like tower of beer. No, it was like you had the sun beer. It was like a tower of beer, and it was a fucking French beer, mate. And we were like, yeah, it can't be that bad. Mate, we had a wicked time. I think we found a cafe with like a cafe, and it didn't shut. And we were just on YouTube, literally on a PC, and we were just playing songs we wanted to. It was unreal.
So last season, it was like I think it was a 9-year anniversary of when we'd last gone, but it was like an anniversary as to why we went, and we went back, and me and Scowie were there, and we were like, well, let's go and have a look, see if we can find a place. So we ended up finding the exact bar that we were in, and it just brought back so many memories. But I just remember me and Stu Lou just like running on cars in the middle of the
I was going to say, Lynchy was like running up and over. Like, I'm like, what? We're singing. I remember being in the bar going, we, as managers do, we had a curfew. It was like, you got to be back by 11. And I remember...
it wasn't even that late, was it? Yeah.
No, I remember people looking at 10:30 going like, we are not going back. Like, it is kicking off here, we're not. And I'm like I said, it wasn't a nightclub, it wasn't anything. It was like some sleepy old cafe with a PC, and we were literally playing, before adverts on YouTube, we were playing every song we wanted, typing it in or whatever. And then I remember like Peter Murphy going, you can stick your fucking curfew up your ass and that. So I remember going home, you lot are running over cars and that. And then the whole managing staff are in the hotel lobby, and I'm like, I didn't even get sober. Yeah, I think you were slapping me. I was slapping you like, come on then. And I remember like I didn't even look at Gareth Ainsworth. I was like, okay, got in. Mate, we had like a 6 o'clock start in the morning.
Yeah, that was the worst thing, wasn't it?
Getting up. I remember just, oh God, it was horrendous. And then there was a few men struggling in the morning. But what a trip. But things like that, Ainsworth was really good at giving, because we got a coach out there. It was a long old trip, but it kind of brought us closer together. It was wicked. Yeah. But some good times. And then